Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. We begin with Allah's blessed name. We praise Him and we glorify Him as He ought to be praised and glorified. And we pray for peace and for blessings on all His noble messengers, and in particular on the last of them all, the blessed Prophet Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, as we greet you from the studios of the Islamic Broadcasting Network here in my native island of Trinidad on this very sad morning of Yawmul Ahad in this month of Rajab, with Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Yes, it is a very sad morning because those who have been waging sinful war on Islam for so many years, the media, all the newspapers, radios, television, governments around the world, international organizations, waging sinful war on Islam on behalf, of course, of the oppressor state of Israel. All these years, the chickens are coming home to roost now, and now the slaughter has begun. If the slaughter in Gaza was not enough, if the slaughter in other parts of the world was not enough, now the jasads are coming out into the open, the woodwork, the worms are coming out of the woodwork, and people who are now programmed to go and commit these horrific acts of murder. This is what has just happened in New Zealand. And we should not be surprised if it does not provoke other such acts on Muslims around the world. But once we are at the receiving end, once we continue to remain as the wretched of the earth, it validates our claim to truth. But what is far more dangerous is that the same people who programmed this Jasad to go and attack and kill 50 people in New Zealand are the same people who will now train who they call their own boys of Dajjal, the people of ISIS and otherwise, who have Muslim names and who are paid US dollars to now go and attack some Christian church or Jewish synagogue and kill 150 so that they can now put the blame on Islam. Look at how these Muslims have responded. This is the danger. This is the danger. So our Christian brothers and sisters, the Jewish brothers and sisters who stand up against the oppressor, we suggest to you to take precautions to protect your places of worship so that someone does not come with a mask on his face and with Allahu Akbar blazoned on the back of his clothing and so on to put the blame on Islam, to come and commit a reciprocal act of horrific terrorism and killing large numbers of Christians and Jews. For those Jews who are our enemies because they are oppressors, we also do not wish for you that you should have to suffer these kinds of attacks, because we Muslims, we don't wage war this ugly way. No, we don't wage war this deceptive way. When we stand up to fight, we stand up openly with our faces open, so there's nothing, no covering over our face to conceal who we are. We don't fight from the dark like the Israeli Mossad. No. Now then, we have to declare, we have to recognize on this very sad morning, and these words of mine I know are going to go around very far in the world, because I am perhaps the only scholar today who has been championing the cause of Constantinople And because of the attack on New Zealand, and it was, I believe, programmed like that, that it should bring Constantinople to the front page, to center stage in the world. I believe that they wanted to kill far more than 50. I believe their plan was to kill maybe about 500, so that Constantinople will come out quickly and violently out to the center stage. And I believe that the purpose of these attacks, rather one of the purpose of the attacks on the two masajid in New Zealand, in South Island. I visited New Zealand once, but I remained only in North Island. I did not go to South Island, so I've never visited Christchurch. But I believe that they wanted to kill about 500 people or more in order to bring Constantinople to center stage. Why? Why? Let me explain. And I am grateful to Allah that He has allowed me to write my book, Constantinople in the Quran, and you'll see it on the screen in a moment. And this book is going to be launched in London. This book is going, there it is on the screen, Constantinople in the Quran, and it is by Allah's kindness that this book was written. And in order to show respect for my Orthodox Christian brothers and sisters, we took the minarets off, because the original cathedral of Hagia Sophia never had any minarets. So we took them out, so that the original structure is there on this cover of the book. And Constantinople in the Quran is, mashallah, going to be launched on, is it April the 27th, which is a Saturday. And it's going to be launched in London. If you will go to my website and to my YouTube channel, you will find the registration for the lecture. And we are sending out a special invitation. We're doing it with love and with respect to our Christian, Orthodox Christian brothers and sisters in London and outside of London, to do please come with us. Come to share with us this moment of the launch of this book. The purpose of the attack in New Zealand, or rather one of the main purposes of the attack in New Zealand, was precisely to sabotage this coming together of Muslims and Christians and binding us together with a future that is connected with Constantinople. The Quran has spoken on the subject of Constantinople, and unfortunately no one has taught the subject. And so there is widespread ignorance, particularly in Turkey. And I cannot blame our people for being ignorant when no one has taught them. They've been brainwashed for 600 years. And so this book, which I have written, by Allah's kindness and grace, has been written at precisely the very right moment. So that when we launch this book, and I hope you will order the book now, it's only, I think, £10, that's all. And you can order it from my bookstore. You'll find it at the bottom of the screen, www.imranhossein.com. That's right, imranhossein.com. That's the bookstore. You can order the book before we run out of this. We didn't print many copies, so if you want to get your copy, you order quickly before we have to reprint the book. Yeah, because we didn't print many copies, we didn't have the money to do so. I am my own publisher, so I have to find the money to print the books. So we'll have to make a second print, because I believe this first print will be sold out very quickly. So our brothers and sisters who have been the hearts of the Orthodox Christian people in Belgrade, in Serbia, in Bosnia, in Macedonia, in Albania, in Kosovo, in Greece, in Russia, in Romania, in Bulgaria. The hearts of the Orthodox Christian people have been there in Hagia Sophia these last 600 years. The hearts have been weeping for Hagia Sophia these last 600 years. And we say to you, come to London on April 27th, and let's bind together and hold hands together, Muslims and Orthodox Christians, as we launch my book on Constantinople in the Quran, and as we seek to fend off this act of sabotage in New Zealand, the act of sabotage which is meant to divide us, to provoke the Turkish Muslims now into trying to get Hagia Sophia restored as a masjid. That's what's going to happen now. And we will know the credentials. We will know the Islamic credentials of the Turkish government if they allow this supreme cathedral of the Orthodox Christians, which should never have been converted into a masjid. It was shameful, it was disgraceful, it was manifestly sinful, it was in conflict with Allah's command in the Quran to have taken that cathedral and converted it into a masjid 600 years ago. Mustafa Kemal took it out from being a masjid and made it into a museum. And now, as a result of what happened in New Zealand, now you'll see all the drums being beaten to take Hagia Sophia and restore it as a masjid in order to drive a nail deep down into the hearts of the Orthodox Christian world, including Russia, and to sabotage the efforts we've been making all these years. One man alone doing it, only me. I can't get the other scholars to come and join me. I have been one solitary voice crying out, but it was not been crying in the wilderness, because the Orthodox Christian world has responded so wonderfully. These words of mine, I hope, will reach you wherever you are in Greece. I hope I can visit Athens sometime this year, inshallah, for the first time. These words of mine may reach you in Russia. I was there in Moscow a few years ago. These words of mine may reach you in Belgrade. I love Belgrade, and Belgrade loves me, yes. That there is a conquest of Constantinople which is coming after the Great War, and when that conquest of Constantinople takes place, as prophesied by Prophet Muhammad, Allah's blessings be upon him, when that conquest of Constantinople takes place, this cathedral of Hagia Sophia will be returned to you. That's right. It is your cathedral, and you will remove the minarets because this is your cathedral. It's not a masjid. The minarets are a symbol of a masjid, and this is not a masjid, so they should not have any minarets. This is an Orthodox Christian cathedral, and we recognize it forever as an Orthodox Christian cathedral, and we will give our lives to ensure that this is returned to you and you have it again once more as an Orthodox Christian cathedral. But this will only happen when the conquest of Constantinople takes place after the Great War. And that Great War seems to be around the corner. They're provoking it. They're provoking Venezuela. The oppressor seems to have been driven to madness by the touch of Shaitan, touch of Satan. And they're now attacking the electrical grid in Venezuela. The United States of America is doing that, and everybody, even a schoolboy, knows that it's the US government which is doing that, and the US CIA and so on. They're the ones who are attacking. Everybody knows that. It's the United States which is doing it. If they can do that to Venezuela, to attack the electrical grid because they have failed in their foolish, stupid attempt of regime change in Venezuela. I know these words of mine might hurt and pinch the hearts of those who recognize Guaido as president and now have to put their tails between their legs with embarrassment, because Maduro is still there and Maduro will remain there. You cannot change the government of Venezuela without killing 1 million people. Even a schoolboy would know that. How come you didn't know that? How come your party didn't know that? Huh? You cannot bring about regime change in Venezuela without killing 1 million people. Do you think South America will allow that? No. The whole of South America will rise up. The whole of Central America will rise up. And a large part of the United States that still beats with the heart of Malcolm X in standing up to the oppressor. Even they will stand up against 1 million people being killed in Venezuela to bring about your stupid, foolish regime change. So when they can do that, attacking Venezuela with the attack on the electrical grid, who knows what they might do tomorrow in their lust for nuclear war. That war is coming. It's going to be a nuclear war, yes. But we are not the ones responsible for it. They are the ones who are lusting for it. But our subject is what happens after that big war. There might be no Trinidad and Tobago after that war. We are just next door to Venezuela. Nuclear war in Venezuela, goodbye to Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, goodbye to us, we know. We'll be finished. But what happens after the nuclear war? We don't mind the nuclear war if millions and millions and millions of us have to die so that the oppressor bite the dust. We don't mind that. Life for us is better to die in the struggle for freedom from oppression than to live and be complicit in oppression by supporting Guaido. No, we are not a people like that, we Muslims. And so what we are looking forward to is what happens after the nuclear war. And our Prophet, Allah's blessings be upon him, he has prophesied as no one else has prophesied in history. Only a prophet can do that. The University of the West Indies and their scholars and their strategic analysts and so on, their political scientists, they can't do it. No. Only a prophet could do it. And he has prophesied that the next event to take place after the Great War would be the conquest of Constantinople. And my book, Constantinople in the Quran, which has just been written and which we're going to launch in London on April the 27th, do please come and attend that program. Do please come. We want to welcome you. We want to share that moment with you. That book explains why the conquest of Constantinople is so important, because that conquest will result in the return of Hagia Sophia to the Orthodox Christian world, and that is what he did not want. He killed 50 people in New Zealand. He did that in New Zealand. Not him, sorry, those who programmed him to do it. They killed 50 people. They were hoping to kill 500 in order to prevent Hagia Sophia being returned to the Christians. That's what they were doing. Sabotage. But they planned their plans, and Allah plans his plans. And so do please come on April 27th to attend that program in London for the launch of my book, Constantinople in the Quran, and to reach out and hold hands with our Christian brothers and sisters, our Orthodox Christian brothers and sisters in particular, because it has not been Western Christianity, no. It has been Orthodox Christianity, which has consistently, these last 600 years, they have wept. Their tears have fallen for Hagia Sophia. We are not saying that Constantinople, the city, has to be conquered and returned to the Christians. Who said that rubbish? Not Imran Hussein, no. A Muslim army will conquer Constantinople, not a Christian army, not Russia. No, 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 stop this garbage. Stop saying things about me I never said. Our Prophet said, لَتَفْتَحَنَّ الْقُنْسْتَنْتِنِيَّةِ لَتَفْتَحَنَّ you Muslims, you will conquer Constantinople. وَلَنِعْمَ الْأَمِيرُ آمِرُهَا وَلَنِعْمَ الْجَيْشُ ذَلِكَ الْجَيْشُ. Which scholar of Islam today is quoting this hadith? None. That is not to say that the scholars of Islam are not doing important work. No, but they are not touching these subjects. And let me lay off the scholars of Islam, because I've talked enough and they're not listening to me. No, they're not listening to me. So let us move on. What can I do? When the conquest of Constantinople takes place, we'll return Hagia Sophia to you. It is still too early for us to analyze properly and comprehensively what they programmed him to do in New Zealand, those who programmed that killer. But clearly, at the top of the list is to sabotage the coming together of the Orthodox Christian world and the world of Islam in friendship, reconciliation, friendship and alliance. That is the first implication of the attack in New Zealand. There are other implications as well, but it is still too early. Later on, maybe a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks from now, I can return to the subject with a more comprehensive analysis. But at this time, this is number one on the subject. The number two, which I mentioned earlier, is that our Christian brothers and sisters, our Jewish brothers and sisters ought to protect their houses of worship now. Because the same people who programmed that killer have other killers who will have Allahu Akbar written on their backs as they come with masks on their faces to try to replicate what was done in what was done in New Zealand to kill 500 Christians or 500 Jews. We Muslims don't fight wars this nasty way. No, 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 no. When we have to fight wars, it has to be a just war. It has to be a war against an oppressor. That's right. And when we fight against an oppressor, we will never fight if he is seeking peace. As the Orthodox Christian Patriarch of Constantinople was seeking peace rather than war when the Ottoman army attacked him. And 7,000 or 9,000 Orthodox Christians defended Constantinople until the last man against an army of 200,000. They were seeking peace. They did not want war. And the Quran, the religion of Islam, says if the enemy wants peace, you are prohibited from fighting. But the Ottomans didn't care for Islam. This is true. If I am wrong, come on and prove me wrong. Don't simply criticize me because you are blind in your loyalty to the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire did many things which were good. And if I were to say one thing that the Ottoman Empire was good at, they would say, look at you, why do you criticize the Ottoman? These schoolboys, they have no sense in their head. They've lost the capacity to think. And yet they are so obstinate in the continuous criticism of me because I am proclaiming the truth. That's right. We ask you to protect your houses of worship now. Put security people in place, because those same satanic people who programmed him to go and attack the masjid in New Zealand, those same satanic people are going to program other people to come attack Christian churches and synagogues, and the attackers will have Allahu Akbar written on their clothing, but their faces will be covered with masks so they could put the blame on Islam. this is as much as I can speak today, because I have other things to speak about today. So this is enough today for New Zealand. I believe it is enough as an initial response. And I hope and I pray that these words of mine may reach people all over the world. May Allah take these words all over the world, so that our people, the Muslim world, particularly in Turkey, and our people in the Balkans, if you are in Bosnia, are you listening to me? If you are in Kosovo, are you listening to me? If you are in Macedonia, are you listening to me? If you are in Albania, are you listening to me? If you are in Belgrade, please listen. If you are in Russia, please listen. If you're in Greece, please listen. If you're in Bulgaria, please listen. We are praying that we will be able to respond appropriately to this vicious attack in New Zealand meant to sabotage our work, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may bless our efforts, and that the truth will emerge triumphant, inshallah. Now then, on April the 28th, which is Yawm al-Ahad, we'll be lecturing in Birmingham. It's just 2 hours away, so if you're in London, you can go with me to Birmingham. And in that lecture, we're going to deal with the Malhama again, how to prepare for it. I have not gone deeply into the subject so far, but I'm hoping in this subject on the 28th to go a little deeper into the subject of the Malhama. Unfortunately, again, I can't get the scholars of Islam to come and join me. I don't know why. I don't know why. And so that is April 28th. You could find, excuse me, you can find the registration information, because we got to rent a hall. I think we more about 800, 1,000 pounds or something we have to pay to rent the hall. So we need to pay, charge a small registration fee to cover the cost of rental. So April 28th, don't forget, in Birmingham on the Malhama, and after that, of course, is the conquest of Constantinople. And then on May the 3rd, which is Yawmul Jum'ah, and it is the Albert Street or Albert Road Masjid in London, and that's the lecture on the strategic importance of the fast of Ramadan. And then after that, of course, is Blessed Ramadan. After Ramadan, I hope, inshallah, to visit you in Malaysia. I left Malaysia since 2016. I haven't eaten any durian since then, no mangosteen, no roti canai, no teh tarik. So I'm looking forward to return to Malaysia. I will soon contact the masajid in Malaysia, in Damansara Heights, in Subang Jaya and so on, to organize for my lectures in Malaysia. But if you are listening to this session, do please prepare yourself, inshallah. I hope also to be able to organize a short visit to Mombasa. Don't expect more than 3 days. Maulana Abdul Alim Siddiqui, rahimahullah, the teacher of my teacher, the sheikh of my sheikh, visited you in Mombasa many, many times. And only this morning I got the official invitation to visit Mombasa. And I hope, inshallah, to be able to visit you in Athens, because it's important. At my age, I should not be traveling so much, but what can I do? But a short visit to Athens, inshallah, sometime this year. Now I want to turn, Bismillah. Oh, I forgot to remind you once again of 2 things, namely, take a note of December 28th here in Trinidad, December 28th, and all this seminar on Dajjal. Nobody else teaches the subject of Dajjal except my learned brother, Hamza Yusuf, Sheikh Hamza Yusuf in the United States. May Allah bless him and grant him long life and with more and more knowledge. Ameen. This is an opportunity for you, a live program. If you are in the United States or Canada, you can come down to Trinidad. It'll be a Saturday, December the 28th, and all the seminar are on Al-Masih ad-Dajjal. And the last announcement, of course, is on my complete set of my books. Unfortunately, we have now run out of copies on the importance of the prohibition of riba in Islam, no more copies. The prohibition of riba in the Quran and Sunnah, no more copies. And Medina returns to center stage in Akhirul Zaman. But Medina we are reprinting. So it's a temporary lack of copies. Medina returns to center stage in Akhirul Zaman. My book on Suratul Kahf, the tafsir, is out of print for some time now, but I'm going to start work soon to edit it so that it can be reprinted. This is Suratul Kahf, the tafsir. But if you want to order your complete sets, it will be 25 books, plus, of course, my teacher's book, The Quranic Foundations and Structure of Muslim Society. And I'm very busy these days autographing all these books. It takes a long time to autograph them. And then going to the post office and sending out these boxes of books to different parts of the world. And mashallah, the orders are coming in slowly. If you want to make an order, do please send me an email. You won't get this from my bookstore. No, you'll have to come to me directly. If you want to get the autograph complete set, you'll have to come to me directly, not through the bookstore. So you'll find my email address at the bottom of the screen. This is inhussein@hotmail.com. There you are, inhussein@hotmail.com. Send me an email directly to me if you want a complete set. This is autographs is not for an order of 2 books or 5 books or 10. No, the autographs is only for a complete set of books. Send me an email, and inshallah you'll get a complete set of 25 books. It costs about £274 for a complete set now. And the shipping cost to the United States may be about $45, $50. For other parts of the world, it'll be more than that, of course. Now then, we still have some time left, and I have some comments to make about my meeting with the politicians in the Muslim community. I do not know whether this was ever attempted in the past. We have been an independent state since 1962, was it? We became independent, 62. And before that we had internal self-government since 1956. I was 14 years of age in 1956, yeah, when politics really came to me. Between 1950 and 1956, the British were still ruling the country. And in school, we had to sing God Save the King. Yes, God Save the King until 1952. And then King George died. King George VI died, and Queen Elizabeth became queen. And then, as children, we had to sing God Save the Queen. Yes. Now then, I do not know if it had ever been attempted before in our history. I don't know. I hardly think it has ever been attempted. But an Islamic scholar invited all Muslims in the country who were involved in politics, as politicians, or as people who are commenting on political affairs, or as political scientists. Come to my home and allow me to make a presentation to you on Islam and politics. My meeting had nothing to do with party politics. It was not in favor of this party or against that party. That is rubbish. No. So there was no reason for you to stay away. No. When all I am doing is asking you to come and allow me. If you are a sincere Muslim, if you are a practicing Muslim, then your primary loyalty is to Allah, not to your political party. Am I wrong? Did I make a mistake? If you are a sincere Muslim, if you are practicing Muslim and you're a politician, your primary loyalty is to Allah, not to your political party. Am I wrong? Shall I repeat it? Are you listening? And I invited you to come so that I could make a presentation to you on Islam and politics. And I'm going to repeat it today so the whole country will hear what I told them. And my daughter, who is here from Pakistan, my daughter cooked a very delicious biryani, chicken biryani. Yes. And I went on the machine and I made the orange juice, yes, and I sweetened it with honey and everything, and I got coconut water and so on. And we got watermelon, we got pine. All of this I did for you, my own hands. Yeah. And I invited you. We expected to have about 20, 25 people. And we thought my home might be too small, so we changed to the masjid. But it was still a private function. Yeah. I don't have any political ambitions. No. I am not a politician. No, I don't want to launch any political career. That's rubbish, yes? That's foolishness. All I wanted to do, and this is perhaps the first time it was ever attempted with a gathering, and this is the last time, I'm not going to do it again. No. That I wanted to present to you what does Islam have to say on politics. I'm not going to tell you today what happened in that meeting. I'm not going to tell you who are those who stayed away. I don't want to embarrass them. No. I want to tell you what I told them in that meeting, and we had several very important people who were attending. I'm going to mention that we did have the leader of one of the political parties in this country who attended, and he was not a Muslim. No, he was not a Muslim. And when we left the hall and we went to the adjoining masjid for the prayers, for the Salat al-Magrib and then Salat al-Isha, I said to him, you can join us if you want. And this non-Muslim came into the masjid and he prayed with us. MashaAllah, he prayed with us. Thank you. This does not happen in Washington. This does not happen in London and Paris and Bonn, where war on Islam is so intense that politicians seek to turn away and stay away. This man, I don't want to be in his company now, but not in Trinidad, mashallah. In Trinidad, the leader of a political party joined us in the masjid for prayer. Indeed, the Prime Minister of this country also, on the day of Eid, he has this habit of coming to the masjid and joining us for the Salatul Eid. And the Prime Minister of this country, who is not a Muslim, he joins, stands up in the line and he prays with us. Yeah, a strange place, huh? Trinidad and Tobago. Anyhow, a scholar of Islam did this. I invited them. I don't know if this ever happened before. And those who were present, I believe they benefited from the presentation. What did I say to them? Let us spend a little time that we have left now sharing with you what I said to them. Maybe they're listening to me this morning and they appreciate the fact that I'm not identifying them who did not come, so I'm not embarrassing. That's not my style, to embarrass you, no. My style is rather to try to touch your heart, to ensure the loyalty, supreme loyalty, is with Allah, not with your political party. I took them to the Quran, not to the Hadith, to the Quran. This again is my methodology, because the Quran has absolute truth and absolute authenticity. So whatever is located in the Quran for a Muslim is indisputable. You cannot doubt it. And some of them may have been surprised by what was in the Quran, probably they were not aware of it before. Others may have been aware of it already because we have smart people in our community and we have smart politicians as well, mashallah. and I have had close relationships with many of them, and may Allah have mercy on the soul of our brother Kamaluddin Muhammad, yes, who was an exceptional politician. I have said it many times. I said it to the PNM, I said it to the Prime Minister, who is now Prime Minister of the country. I've said it to the chairman of the party, the PNM party. I've said it to others that if, when Dr. Williams died in 1981, perhaps, I was a Foreign Service officer in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs at that time. If the PNM had appointed Kamaluddin Muhammad as Prime Minister of this country to succeed Dr. Williams, the whole country would have responded with a sigh of relief. And the warring tribes, the rivalry between the tribes in this country, this unfortunate political rivalry that has plagued this country from 1956, this awesome, stenchful political rivalry between the tribes of this country would have been healed. The wounds would have been healed if the PNM had appointed Kamaluddin Muhammad as Prime Minister. I'm speaking now to the members of the PNM because I don't think it's beneficial to speak to the leaders of the PNM. They're not going to listen to me. But perhaps the members of the party would have more capacity to think, because they're not politicians whose only concern is to win elections. The members of the party might be able to sit back and think, no, Imran is saying something correct. So I made a presentation from the Quran, and I said that the Quran has within it history. It teaches us history. It's a book of history, the history of mankind. And I took them to the first chapter of the book of history in the Quran, and I took them to the first page of the first chapter of the book of history in the Quran. And at the top of the first page of the first chapter of the book of history in the Quran is politics. That's right. Politics is there at the first beginning, the beginning of the first page, where Allah spoke to the angels and said to them, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إني جاعل في الأرض خليفة. I'm going to place on earth one who will rule, one who will govern, one who will establish the state, one who will establish law. Yes, that's right. I'm going to place on earth a Khalifa. But the angels had already been informed. They already had knowledge of this subject that Allah had given to them. And they knew what politics could produce. They knew. And so they said to him, are you going to place on earth one who will cause corruption and bloodshed? That politics will corrupt everything, and politics will cause bloodshed. That's what happened in New Zealand. And then he responded to the angels and said, I know what you don't know, because you only know part of the subject. There's more. And if you want to know more, come to the Quran. But you stayed away. That's your good luck, bad luck now. You stayed away. So then, Allah then taught Adam alayhi salam the knowledge. He gave to him the knowledge for fulfilling his function as a ruler, to rule, that mankind will have to rule. وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. So a politician must not be a man with peanuts in his head. If you are to be a politician, you better do your homework. You have to be learned. You have to have knowledge. You have to have a versatility of knowledge if you are a politician. Yes. I had a meeting with, no, let me not mention that. All right. So then he spoke to the angels and said to me, tell me what I spoke to Adam alayhi salam. What knowledge do you need for politics? They said, we don't have any knowledge except that which you give to. Then he said to Adam, you explain to him. And when Adam alayhi salatu wasalam explained to him, he said, did I not say to you, I know? But then he did something more than that. He said to the angels, وَإِذْ قُلْنَا لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ اسْجُدُوا لِآدَمَ. Make your sajda, prostrate before Adam, meaning prostrate before one who is going to be sent to rule, indicating that when a ruler is established on earth, you don't have government and opposition. No. When a ruler is established on earth, all those who belong to that polity must submit to his rule and obey him. That is what brings stability. But then, prostration before a human being is now prohibited for us. We prostrate and bend our heads only before Allah Most High. So now we recognize that prostration before a human being existed at the beginning of history. But this was prostration as an act of respect and prostration as an act of submission to authority. This is like a pledge of allegiance. Bismillah. The bay'ah, by which you pledge your submission to the authority of the ruler. And I want to remind my Muslim people, and remind the Hindus as well if they're not aware of it, that Hinduism, this is what I told them in the meeting last Sunday, that Hinduism has preserved this part of truth which was located at the beginning of history, that the Hindu wife, to this day, the Hindu wife bends down and touches the feet of her husband, not as a kunumunu, not in worshipping her husband. Why don't you put some sense in your head? No, this is her act of respect to her husband and submission to his authority. So you to take your feminist revolution and throw it in the Gulf of Paria. The Hindu woman bends down and touches the feet of her husband, not only as an act of respect, but as an act of submission to his authority. Hinduism has preserved to this day that page of history. I then went on to go to Surah Al-Sad of the Quran, in which Allah then spoke, Allah Most High, to the Prophet David, Nabi Dawood alayhi salam. And this is what he said. Ba'aruzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Ya Dawood, O David, inna ja'alnaka khalifatan fil ard. I am hereby appointing you to rule on earth, to establish the state, to establish government, to establish law. فَاحْكُمْ بَيْنَ النَّاسِ بِالْحَقِّ. David, politics and state and government, governance must be based on truth. That is the Quran. Is it only in the Quran? No, it's there in Hinduism as well, it's there in Christianity as well, it's there in Judaism as well. It's just your secular political party doesn't care two peanuts about God and about his scriptures. Your secular politics don't care two peanuts. That's right. Oh, David, I hereby appoint you to rule on earth, Khalifa. فَاحْكُمْ بَيْنَ النَّاسِ بِالْحَقِّ. So now David established law, established governments, rule on earth, establish the state, let the state be function, the conduct of state be based on truth. Our politicians who attended last Sunday may have been surprised to learn that this is in the Quran because nobody teaches it. Yes. But I think they may have been pleased as Muslim politicians to learn that politics in Islam is based on truth. Same thing with Christianity, same thing with Hinduism, same thing with Judaism. Politics is based on truth. But then listen to what Allah went on to say. This is what we did last Sunday. You should have been there. You regret now that you were not there. وَلَا تَتَّبِعِ الْهَوَىٰ. And oh David, don't turn away from the truth to pursue your own agenda. وَلَا تَتَّبِعِ الْهَوَىٰ. No, you cannot turn away from the truth to pursue an agenda that you decide in your own political party or in your own parliament and so on. No, you must be faithful to the truth. وَلَا تَتَّبِعِ الْهَوَىٰ فَيَدِلَّكَ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. If you pursue your own agenda, then you will turn away and betray the path of Allah. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَدِلُّونَ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. Listen carefully to these words, because you're going to have to answer in the grave. Remember, this is the Quran. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَدِلُّونَ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ لَهُمْ عَذَابٌ شَدِيدٌ بِمَا نَسُوا يَوْمَ الْحِسَابِ. Those who turn away from the path of Allah, from the path of truth, for them I have prepared terrible punishment. Terrible punishment. بِمَا نَسُوا يَوْمَ الْحِسَابِ. Because they forgot. They forgot the day of accounts. Was this not an important presentation? Was this not important for our politicians to have listened to what Allah said in the Quran? This was the heart of the presentation I made during my session with the politicians last Sunday. I did more than this. We had a very significant discussion session. I mentioned that Trinidad and Tobago was an exceptional country. That this country was given divinely ordained possibilities. That we are a multiplicity of tribes in this country. It is a cosmopolitan polity. And that the Quran has spoken about the diversity of nations and tribes, لِتَعَارَفُوا. And the diversity of nations and tribes in a polity opens possibilities in the world of knowledge, in the world of truth. If you have the capacity to think لِتَعَارَفُوا, إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ. That this multiplicity of nations and tribes in Trinidad, we are not one nation, all of we is one. That's wrong. We are a multiplicity. And in this multiplicity, each nation and tribe wants to maintain its identity, wants to preserve its identity. And when you violate the values of a nation or a tribe, they have the right to stand up. This is why we admire the Secretary General of the Mahasabha. I don't care 2 peanuts for those who are annoyed with me. No. If I proclaim the truth and you are uncomfortable with that, that's not my problem, that's yours. So when the government of Trinidad and Tobago made itself a fool by following tamely like sheep all the rest of the world in bringing legislation, because all over the world, not just Trinidad. Don't tell me it's local legislation, that's nonsense. It is all over the world. There's a mastermind who's made it all over the world that you cannot marry, a girl cannot marry unless she is 18. And wait until Judgment Day. See, you ever looked into the Quran to see whether you could vote for that? And our parliament voted for it. Everybody, every Tom, Dick and Harry voted in favor of it. One man in this country had the courage to stand up and shout and proclaim this is nonsense. He blasted it as false, and it was Satnarayana Maharaj. So we admire him for having stood up for the integrity of his Christian, his Hindu community. We admire him for that. But what did the others do? They went to parliament and they voted tamely like sheep and like cattle in favor of that. So we said, we have possibilities in this country. I have only 3 more minutes left. Oh my gosh. I mentioned to them we have possibilities in this country. We are a plural society, and we need to have a plural political order. The present system is not working. The tribes are in rivalry with each other. It's racial rivalry. It's stench. It stinks. And in Islam, we have a plural model that the Prophet ﷺ organized. He negotiated it, the Mithaq of Medina. A plural model of a political order for a plural polity. I mentioned that to them in the meeting. And I also mentioned that in this country we have not only a plurality of tribes, but we have 3 religions, 3 world religions, living together in harmony and in mutual respect. Yes, there is Islam, there is Christianity, there is Hinduism, and this offers possibilities here that does not exist elsewhere. Amongst the possibilities is for the religions to be allowed a chance to show what religion can do to arrest the decline of society, the collapse of society. Society is collapsing. I'm sorry, my time is now up. And, but we will repeat this program next week again because this is too important. So there'll be a repeat next week. If you missed it this Sunday, you will get it again next Sunday, inshallah. You can ask other people to tune in to listen to it in Trinidad and Tobago next Sunday, inshallah. We have different religions in this country, and we live in harmony with each other, and therefore there are possibilities. This society is collapsing. There's violence, there's crime, marriages are breaking up and so on. And religion should be allowed a chance to do what religion can do, to restore values in the society and to arrest the decline in the society. So I suggested that the state should not stand in the way. Let us allow the religions to build a model of what they can do, what they can establish as a society. Get a large enough parcel of land. This quarter belongs to the Christian, that quarter belongs to the Hindus, that quarter belongs to the Muslims, and we allow them to build a model, a micro model of a Muslim society, a Christian society, a Hindu society. This was our presentation last Sunday, and we pray that those who want to have more knowledge can come to meet with me privately if you're a politician, and I'll be happy, inshallah, to do this, to take the subject further. Thank you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.